Hi, my name is Stacy Price, and in 2015, I realized I wasn't a great communicator. I avoided eye contact, I spoke in a monotone, and I struggled to connect with others. To help change that, I started interviewing people in my community, and that experiment became my first podcast, Waste Off Podcast. Through those conversations, I learned that taking risks creates change, and change creates growth. I also discovered my passion for business and leadership. Now, with Price on Purpose, I help the creatively curious, aspiring entrepreneurs, and leaders find their purpose and build more fulfilling lives. Tune in for stories, insights, and my Quality Theory segment, where I explore business processes, analytics, and, most importantly, the customer experience. And now, this is the next episode of Price on Purpose. Greetings, Angela. How are you today?
Hi, Stacy. I'm so happy to catch up with you. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's I don't even know the last time that you and I connected, but I think it was on Business Acceleration Playbook with Maria Daniels.
I think we've chatted here or there, but really lengthy conversations. It was when we were doing that podcast together. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm just grateful now because I get some one-on-one time to learn more about you, more about your story. Some things I do know about you. I know you play is it pronounced Alphorn?
We really got to make sure we emphasize that P.
Alp.
It's like the mountains, like the Alps, right? So it's really like a social symbol for Switzerland, but really all of the Alps, you'll hear there's Italian Alphorns, German Alphorns, Swiss, and Austrian. Those tend to be the ones. Mm-hmm. We do have a manufacturer. He recently retired from the Rocky Mountains up in Canada. And now there is a new manufacturer, I think they're in Utah, who is making American-based Alphorns. But primarily this is a mountain instrument. It's an outdoor instrument. It has no valves. Yes. It's wooden, and it's 12 feet long.
Uh-huh. That is amazing. I love that you're sharing it on social media because you're the one and only person I know that plays. Would we say plays the instrument? How would you
in English we say
that?
Play? Yes. Yeah. We have different words in German.
All right.
So.
Oh. Wait, what would you say then in German?
You would say that you blow the horn.
Teach me.
You would blasen, but you would say you would blow the horn. You can also say play, but the tradition would be you blow a horn, right? But then, of course, if you there are people that will chuckle at that word choice, even in German, but English, you can't even get through the sentence without the implications rolling, right? You already have a 12-foot long instrument in front of you, and then you kind of use words like that, and the innuendos, especially you add in a little bit of beer and everybody thinks that it was the first time they ever told that joke. I know I never heard that joke before. Never, ever. Not in the 25 years that I've been performing and wearing dirndls did I ever hear someone say that exact same joke as they already had 3 beers in them. But everyone thinks they're original, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Indeed. So how did this come into your life?
Thank you for asking the question like that. That is exactly how it happens. Every single person who ever has played this instrument has a story.
Yes.
So here's mine.
Yes.
Thank you for asking like that. If you're willing to listen, indulge me for a second. Pleasure. I used to play French horn. So I studied French horn growing up from 3rd or 4th grade. I studied with June Whitmer, who was the premier teacher in the Cleveland Symphony Orchestra. So not a hack, but I had a choice at a certain point to decide to study music. I wasn't conservatory level, but I could have studied music or engineering. I chose engineering, but I never gave up music. And I made an intentional decision because we do have professional musicians in our family, orchestra members, orchestra conductors, and a lot of church musicians. And I wanted to not have music be my vocation because there's a lot of competition in music. And that competition can take away some of the joy. And I wanted the music to remain my joy, my joyful spot. It's my reflection spot. It's my calming spot, right? And it's my community service. I give back. Like, I have spent years developing this skill. I have thousands of dollars of instruments at a certain point, right? Baby grand piano, French horn, like professional level French horn. And now I have multiple Alphorns.
Wait, you have multiple? Where, in the closet?
Well, one, I can't tell you. I have them because they do break down. Okay. But one is carbon fiber, so it travels really well. And it literally fits in the overhead bin. Wow. And like, I travel with that internationally all the time, unless I have a competition or a performance. Then I take the other one, and that one is like, it's my professional level horn. It gets a lot more care and attention, whatever. So anyways, I was playing in a semi-professional French horn group, and I was ecstatic that they allowed me in. Like, I was the only person that didn't have a music degree or a French horn performance degree. So like, high level playing. And a couple years, like, I moved on because like, I was done with my graduate level studies and I was working. And at a certain point, like, people move on in their life, right? And move on to different gigs, what have you. Well, somehow I ended up with the music folder. And you're like, that's bad. It's bad etiquette. You return your music all the time. But I also know that like, some of this music's hard to come by. So I never lost it. I just was like, I must keep this. 6 years later or something like that, I run into the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I have the fourth horn folder. And he's like, you're kidding me. I'm like, no, literally, like, I didn't know how to get it back to you. And so I was able to return this folder. I'm like, hey, I've moved back into town again. So if you have gigs, like, music is all about your network. You have to know people who want you. You have to be good enough, right? Like, playing in the right level with people. And I'm like, I would love to play again. Here I am. I got the chops. I have the horn. You know I do, right? We've played together before and we get along. Like, there's also that, right? Good relationships matter. And he's like, sure.
Indeed.
And he calls me like 2 or 3 months later. And he's like, hey, do you remember when, this was back in the day when we had email listservs?
Wow.
So just a few years ago. He's like, do you remember when someone was like trying to sell that Alphorn? And I was like, yes. And I was trying to buy it. And I even sent around, like, my son is the oldest grandchild. I was like, hey, family members, don't you want to celebrate the birth of the first grandchild by donating to my Alphorn fund so I can buy this horn? And they're all like, no, here's a baby crib, right? Like, nobody was no one was jumping on that. And who has extra money? I don't have extra money, right? Like, the baby's coming, and then like, your money is all spent. Babies are expensive. And that is not the time, by the way, to spend a couple $1,000s on an instrument that 99% of the world hasn't even heard of. So there it sat. Well, the group that I had been playing in, that semi-pro group, had money in the bank, so they bought it. Wow. And he's like, we have this horn, and I have a horn, and two of my friends that we like mutually knew. All of a sudden, we had 4 horns in Columbus, and they were all like individual, but like, somehow all of a sudden there were 4 horns. And he's like, we need a person to play this horn. And he's like, since you're in town, like, right, would you like to play? So it's an interesting thing. Like, musicians sometimes because you kind of have like the energy, but you don't always know all their facts because you come in and you play, right? And I'm like, great. What outfit should I wear? Should I wear my Landkleid or my dirndl? And he's like, I don't know what you just said, but I have an Alphorn for you to play. He doesn't speak German. He doesn't have any cultural background. He just likes the music. And I'm like, oh, we can up this, right? So I get the horn, I practice. We do the first concert. A friend of mine shows up to the concert, and he is retired cinematography professor at Ohio State. Like he used to be the chair of the department back in the day.
Okay.
Right. So he's like, this is amazing. I'm like, this is amazing. We need a name. We need we can't just be 4 random instruments. We have to be a thing. And so from that day, we launched Alphorn Grüezi, which just means Alphorn greetings in Swiss German, right? Awesome. And then 5 years later, I launched another group that's called, well, now it's called the Ohio Alphorn Band, but it's polka with accordion and string bass and Alphorn. So we have a little more like festive, because the Alphorns themselves are like these individual. So the Alphorn, the reason it's so interesting as a French horn player is that it's in the same key mostly. In the United States, we usually play in the same key. I can get into the intricacies around the world. It's different, but we tend to play in the same key as the French horn. So it's very easy for the horn players to kind of step over. And also it doesn't have any valves. So it's not like anyone has to learn things, but it is more difficult because it's wooden and the mouthpiece is wooden, and you have different care for an instrument like that. And there's like, when you play long instruments, right? These instruments are literally longer than a trumpet or longer than a tuba.
Correct. Yeah.
The structure, the way you structure your breathing is different on an instrument like that. And the music is written and people learn, like, that's why like you identify, or like we literally look at people and we're like, your personality is this instrument, and people are seldom wrong. Like you'll see stereotypes, but the reason is because the instruments ask for a certain personality and the music is written for a certain personality. And so French horn players tend to be the ones who are most commonly switching over because of the structured breathing that we've already learned throughout years and years of practice.
That is fascinating, because now my brain is running, because I used to play the trumpet, and
I knew you were going to say that. By the way,
the cellist. Really? How did you know? Wait, did you know I used to play cello too?
No, I didn't pick cello, but that's a good one, and I like that for you. That's excellent.
Yes. So I actually played the cello. I was the cellist first, and always loved symphony, orchestra. I was first chair at one point, so almost went to NYSSMA. My mom was like, "You ain't going to Florida," and I was like, "I guess I can't do this anymore." But I still have my cello, still have my trumpet. I wanted to be this was when I was in high school. I wanted to be a multi-instrument musician.
Yeah.
But I took a brief hiatus. I'll eventually go back to cello. Cello's my heart.
Okay.
Cello's my heart. I am a huge fan of symphony music, or orchestra, I should say. Yeah. But I want to know more. So when you said about the French horn in relation to the Alphorn and the breathing, can you say more about that?
Sure. You think about when you play your cello, right? Like you don't just string your bow across and be like,
correct.
You actually put pressure and you build an arc of a note. Like you have a crescendo. It tells, even with one note, you can tell a story. Right?
Yes, 100%.
It is harder to do that with the trumpet than it is with the French horn, because the trumpet is shorter. So it's more literally brassy. It's literally more brassy because you put more, like it's a brighter sound. Like the alloys are different between a trumpet and a French horn. There are more curves in a French horn. There are more curves in a cornet, and there are fewer curves in a trumpet, right? So a trumpet is 1/3 curves and 2/3 straight. But the same length, cornet is 2/3 curves and 1/3 straight. And that changes from a bright, brassy sound to a softer, mellow sound. We start kids on the cornet because it's easier, and then they can like ante up to a real trumpet, right? The French horn, we typically don't even start children on them because they struggle so much with the length of the instrument. You often don't have the skill set, and you spend more time wallowing around. and they're not, unless they already have prior musical experience, they're often not started there. They might start on trumpet and move over, or they've already come from a family that had music, right? Like I started on violin when I was 4, piano when I was 5, French horn for me was like practice here, but it wasn't practice here, right? I wasn't learning new music. I was building skills, literally building chops.
Got it.
Because the horn is longer and because the horn has curves and because the mouthpiece is the smallest of all the brass mouthpieces, you have less room for error. And so your attacks matter, your breathing structure, like literally a lot more on the trumpet, you're almost like top of chest.
Correct.
But
yes.
that is not what you have on a French horn. Like the French horn, we literally practice the double breathing. So you like breathe in diaphragm plus a chest breath in order to like learn how to like truly like I know I'm using my hands, but like you're pulling it out and holding it over and you're building and relaxing all in one note. And when you practice together in an ensemble, the people that you're playing with and the music that you're trying to tell the story with, you learn to listen to their breathing and you know when they're running out of air or you know when they're going to crescendo because you're telling the same story together. There is research that has demonstrated that when people sing in a choir, their heartbeats sync.
Amazing.
And I would love to see that same study repeated for instruments that are in an ensemble, like a choir, a horn choir. I would be willing to bet that our hearts do very similar things when we're within part. So the guy that first called me and said, "Hey, would you want to play?" I love playing second horn to his first horn because we have been playing together for 25, 30 years, almost 30 years now, right? And I know where he is in a note, and like maybe we practiced it 10 times this way, but then by the time you get to the gig, there's wind, we're outside, there's so many other variables, and I can hear like, oh, he's pulling down sooner than like what we would have rehearsed. I'm not going to hold out my note because that's what was supposed to do. I'm going to meet him because I know what he needs, and we need to do that for the audience, right? Like you have the top groups have been playing together so well that you hear when someone's out of breath. You hear when the wind is like messing with you. And that's like the hallmark of the really, really top groups is like they know each other so well that they're structuring in and they're structuring out.
Wow.
So that breathing together, that pressure, and their little innuendos, right? That makes amazing music. That's when you're just like, tears.
Yeah. Wow. That is absolutely fascinating. I love the sound of, dare I say the sound of music?
The sound of like live music and the peacefulness that comes with it, right?
100%.
So
100%.
You know,
I've always loved live music.
Yeah. I mean, there's some vulnerability, there's some guts, there's accountability. There's a lot of hard work that goes into live musical performances.
Absolutely. 110%. I love that you're sharing your culture and experience. It's refreshing to see online. Every time Maria talks to me, she's like, "When are you coming out here?" I'm like, "Eventually." But I would love to go to one of your events and like to see this live. I feel like online you get like a taste, but I think in person to feel.
Every time I listen, I'm so disappointed to my own recordings.
What? Why?
Because it's so much different when it's live.
Understood.
So I'll tell a different story. I was preparing for a solo at a church, and I was really excited because the acoustics in this church are fantastic, like old school German wooden beams, right? Like I'm like, oh, thank you for letting me play, right? This is how excited I am. And I'm practicing and I'm practicing and I'm in my backyard and I'm like, I am ready. I sound great. I am like, I've done my work.
Yes.
And I show up in the church and I'm warming up. Do you know why I sounded great outside in my backyard? The crickets learn your songs. Did you know that crickets sing in 4-part harmony?
What?
I did not. You go find it. Go like Google, go YouTube, crickets
Yes.
4-part harmony. Someone took
Interesting.
cricket song and recorded it and then dropped it down to like 1 heartbeat per minute, like their cricket heartbeat to our human heartbeat, basically 1 per second. I mean, 1 per second.
Wow.
And you can hear them and you can hear intricate harmonies, 4-part harmonies, crickets sing in harmony. So I always practice outside whenever I can. It's an outdoor instrument, so I should, right? And it lungs and experience and culture, like all these things. So I'm always outside and I'm practicing. Well, the crickets learn my song. And I knew this because I heard them. Like when I would start to play, you would hear them switch their song. They'd learn my songs and they would learn the harmony. So like when you go practice in the same place all the time, you have a built-in symphony. They just change their harmony to go with your song. And if you're playing the same thing, they will sing with you. So I'm like, I sound great. I am so excited. And then I go to the church and my crickets didn't come with me.
Yeah, right? It's a different situation.
And don't get me wrong. I played well. I know my song. It was good. It was fine. But the experience for me was so different because I was like, but where are my crickets?
Aww.
And I didn't realize.
You brought them with you?
Right? I did. I need a little cage of crickets come with me. But I didn't realize how much they were like really adding to my experience. So nature has music. Like, think about The Sound of Music or whatever. But when you say the hills are alive, like that is not a joke. They are singing and they will sing with you.
I'm like so fascinated by that right now. I'm just like, oh my God, the crickets. So actually, now that you say that, with the Alphorn, like, how do do your neighbors ever come over and be like, what are you doing?
Oh, all the time. Because I'm like literally in the backyard. They can see us, right? So
how close are you to like, is it like typical closeness, like right over the fence?
I mean,
or like
I'm not living in some millionaire home. So yeah, no, we don't even have fences. There's no fences. We have like a zone with no fences. So there's no hiding it. Like, and I live 2 down from the corner. So even when people are walking down the street the other direction, they like stop and you can see they're walking their dogs. And because I teach my lessons outside in the backyard. If the weather's good, we're outside. That's the rule, right?
Amazing.
So we do it obviously during daylight hours, so no one's sleeping. And
man, if I lived near you, I'd be like, yo, could you like wake me up at 6 a.m. with that thing? Like, I would love that.
Has been done. So I do have a music studio. Like I have like I said, I have a piano, so I can. It's small enough. The doors will close, and I can put 2 Alphorns and the piano in there. It's tight, not gonna lie, but
okay. But it sounds pretty large because the Alphorn is like 12 feet. You said.
Yeah, we're angled.
Got it.
So the room is probably, I don't know, 12 by 16 or something. Yeah. So you have an angle, but then you're like angled in the room as well because it's not ideal, but it's okay for practice. Like I wouldn't record in that room.
Right.
And I have other spaces that are larger, but also I have people that live in my house. So.
Got it.
And by the way, my son plays cello. So there's a cello.
He does? Yeah, that's awesome.
That's his instrument.
Does he like it?
Yeah, no, he chose it. Like we spent money. We went down to the violin loft and like he has a nice instrument. My godson, he also had a choice of like conservatory or engineering. He went engineering. So he's a cellist, like a very accomplished cellist.
Very nice.
So
it's such a beautiful instrument.
It's a beautiful instrument for sure. Yep. So
it just gives me chills talking about it. It's such a beautiful. It sounds so good. Okay.
I wish he would do more. He has nearly perfect hearing. He sang in the Cincinnati Boys Choir when he was younger, but he just doesn't love it as much, and he doesn't get as much support from some places. So
understood.
But he chose, because I was like, child, do you see every brass instrument in my house that I don't have to buy? Do you see the piano that I don't have to buy? No, mom. No, mom. Mom, I just like going like this. And he's moving his arms. He's showing me the bow motion. Mom, it's so peaceful when I do this. And I was like,
It is.
you
I
can't
have to
argue,
agree
right?
with
Like,
them.
I think it's really
Yeah.
important to let the child pick that instrument. And if they need to change,
Yes.
okay. But like, I think you need to allow them that experience, because they're learning themselves. They're learning the
Yeah.
people around them. And I really, truly believe that the instrument you choose is an expression of who you are in your soul.
100%.
And so I'm not going to argue. His dad did.
Yes.
Like, his dad's like, there's no future for cello. And I'm like, that's not the point. We are not
Actually,
here for
there is,
future
but-
of cello. I don't think he's going to be a professional cellist. Like, if he is, I will support.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
I don't get the feel that that's where like that drive is there. But the music is there, right? And yeah, he's done Christmas gigs with friends, and it turns out. So we moved back up here to Columbus, he sang in a German children's choir. And the 3 oldest children that are still now, the 2 girls will graduate this year, and he graduates next year. So they have been making music together since they were 3 and 4 years old. These young 17 and 18-year-olds, right, have been making music together more or longer than most families exist. And they all 3 play cello.
Wow.
So there was kind of like a transition in the choir where the little kids weren't quite up to volume yet. And so the older kids will always go and support the little kids. And they just didn't have enough songs one year for Christmas. So instead they played cello duets.
That's awesome.
Right? Like, so they're just like, oh, the kids can't handle it. We'll keep the spot that's on the schedule every single year. We'll fill, and then the little kids can come. So like they did a couple duets, and then the little children came up and kind of stood and sang around them, and they stayed with their cellos and sang with them and supported the littles. Like they were little, but it's interesting to me that the 3 that have stuck with it, which is partially also because the moms, not going to lie, all 3 of them also play cello.
Wow.
So
a lot of cellos over there.
We got some cellos going on in Central Ohio to go with our Alphorns.
Yes. Oh man, that must sound interesting. That type of combination. But I have another question for you. So I remember when we connected before, you were working on your PhD. Now you are Dr. Angela J. Buckley.
Yes.
Congratulations first.
Thank you. I'm still sleeping. No, I think I'm recovered now. It's been a while.
You're recovered now? Like, are you all right?
Yeah. It's not even a joke. Like, I talked to my professor 6 months afterwards, and he's like, are you still sleeping? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, that's right. Like, it's not like everybody knows. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not easy. You have to get it done in the timeline. You have to get it done. I was working full time, going through a divorce, had a child, right? So single momming, I've basically been single momming anyways. And then like just crushing through on a PhD is like
gangster.
No work. Yeah. There's no sleep for the weary. And then when you're done, you're just like, I've now officially gained weight, and I need to like knock some of that off, and I need to sleep and get my hormones balanced. And it has been like a year of recovery. Literally, it's been almost a year now since I defended. And during the whole time, I never got COVID in like all the way. And then after like a month or 2 after defense, I was down for 2 weeks, and I wasn't even super sick, but I was so tired. I couldn't even get out of bed. Like, thankfully it was over Christmas break, but still like, I was like, I will make dinner, go back to sleep. Like that was it. That's all I had. So
that's like what happened to me too. It's like through the whole 2020 everything, no COVID. I started working for this job. They had tickets to a concert that they give as like incentive, like when you join the company. I was like, I've never been to this concert. You know what? It's free. I'll go. I go to concert. I get COVID. I'm like, what?
Yep.
And just like you, it was like, it's not like I was sick. ironically, it was just like I was so drained for a week.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I wanted to do stuff, but I couldn't.
Yep.
And then I had pain in my hips.
Yep.
I was like, what is this?
Well, like, let me just be clear. When you're writing a dissertation, cleaning your house, like windows and dusting sills and doors and all that, like I did, especially through COVID, like I sanitized my handles. Like my house is not dirty, but it was also not clean. And so my plan had been like, I have those 2 weeks, right? Like I was going to clean.
Yeah.
No, I slept.
It's like, oh, I have to rest. Who does that?
Yeah. No, like definitely. I was like, I'm sorry,
man.
Sleep is just still more the priority than dust bunnies. Like,
my goodness.
We've been getting at them. Like the dust bunnies they have been served their eviction notice, but I mean, it takes a long time to like undo. I don't want to say neglect, but like you're just prioritizing everything, right? So, So then you have to prioritize sleep, and then you prioritize, like the dust bunnies are the last ones to go.
Yeah, I hear you. So tell me what you studied. Like what is your focus on the PhD? What is it in?
Yeah, so my title is Organizational Leadership and Development. And it's from the Education College because I'm focused on adult education, so andragogy. How do adults learn? And then my research was on the motivational influences of hourly manufacturing employees and why do they turn over? Like, why do they quit? So
interesting.
I interviewed employees, and they basically, like, I had a numeric survey, so I had a quantitative component of a qualitative survey for the people who are listening to details.
Yes.
But it's nice because the survey gives you a good indicator of like how accurate it is relative to what they're actually telling me in words, right? The qualitative.
Okay, understood.
So honestly, they want to be long. They want to have their voices heard. They want, you can pay a fair wage, because I walked into an org that everyone around us was having turnover between 20 and 40%. And this org was at 0. I was like, between 0 and 4%, right? And I was like, what? Okay. What are you doing right? Like this is going to be, what are you doing right? And there were people, by the way, from other companies that I knew who were now working at that. And I'm like, I'm not supposed to know all this information that I know right now, right? But they will tell you, like, if you pay a fair wage, can I live on your wage, right? Like,
yes.
So in Ohio right now, a fair wage is like in the $19, $20 starting range. And then it goes up with experience for manufacturing, right? So don't get me wrong, minimum wage is different and all the other stuff. But starting like your truck drivers and whatever else, they're kind of lower skilled, entry level, getting in. 19 to 20 is about what's happening right now. And so when I heard that rate, I was like, what are you paying them? And they're like, we're paying $19.50, whatever, like blah, like what everybody else is paying, really. And I'm like, okay, then what else are you doing, right? Like if you're paying what everybody else is basically paying at the moment, something else is going right, like big time right. And so that was what was interesting, right? So we look at, first of all, the motivation parts, and the motivation is all like, I want to be heard, I want to be recognized, I want to feel safe. And there's a difference between the feeling safe part, or we talk about, so motivation and then hygiene. Hygiene is the rate fair? Whereas motivation might be, but we pay them 3 more than everybody else pays or something, right? Like, so the hygiene factor is it something they can live on? Is it something that is going rate? That's hygiene. Motivation might be, but I pay them a bonus. And the same thing with safety. Are they safe, or do they feel safe? So it's interesting. You can talk about safety on a level of hygiene, or you can talk about safety on a level of motivation. And so it's interesting that when you meet the bare minimums, hygiene, you can actually take certain values and pull them over and make them motivators. So what this company did was, okay, their safety standards were, again, like they meet safety standards, like the OSHA guys are in and they pass all their audits and bare bones,
Okay.
like all the same things that you expect from
Right.
an organization. But what they did differently than some of the others was that people had a lot more say in their safety. When they didn't feel safe, they were able to say, I don't feel safe and I need something else. Whether they were or weren't, they were allowed to have those conversations. And maybe it was just that they took a pause, maybe that there was more training. But I also know, like, one guy told me, so this is like straight up from the research, right? He's like,
Yes.
this gentleman is older and I don't feel like it's safe when he works at height. I want to work at height so that he doesn't have to. Even though it was the older guy's job to work up and he was qualified and, could, the younger person wanted to do the higher job because he wanted to feel that the other guy was safe. And this organization allowed them to do that, right? They allowed them to switch jobs to feel like everybody felt better.
Got it.
Right? So he's feeling generous because he feels that he's taking care of someone that he cares about.
Okay.
And I truly believe, like, based on the safety factors in that organization, both of those people would have been safe. But they felt safer because they made a difference, right? Like, because they had a say in what was happening.
Yes.
So hygiene, did they meet all the safety standards? Would they have been safe? I believe the answer is yes. I really do. Did they feel safer because they were able to make some changes? Big difference, right? And so when someone says, and why not? Like, if the quality of the work is the same and the productivity is the same, why not let them do it?
Right.
So these kinds of things are really important when you're talking about how can you take something that's basic? Are you safe? Do you feel safe?
Yes, 110%.
Same thing
I have a
with
question for you
wages, right? Like, do you feel that you're getting a fair wage? Are you getting a fair wage? Honestly, 10 cents could make a difference in that conversation. Is it worth losing a person? Maybe, maybe not. Depends, right? If they're a good worker, maybe it's not. So those are the types of things, like being able to say, I need help. I need a different tool. I can't do this way. Will you hear me? Maybe the answer is, no, you don't need a different tool. You need to use this tool correctly. Let me show you. Training, right? So training, and again, that's like a big part of what I focus on anyways in general is, are you training? Are you upskilling? Are you bringing them along? If you say no as a management, get it, fine. Like, the answer is sometimes no.
Correct.
But the answer could also be not yet, or here, let me show you why, right? Like, bringing them along with your decision goes a long way to involving them and engaging them in the decision and making sure they understand why. You don't need this tool because it costs $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. This one doesn't cost that much, or we already have it. Frankly, we just already have it. And it can be used this way and that way safely. I'm going to show you how. I hear your concerns. Let me show you how to do it safely and effectively.
Question.
Makes a big difference, right?
Because I love everything you're saying, but I need to know, in a company, so this is primarily so your research was in manufacturing specifically, in those types of environments? Yes. Can we add this research or apply it to another business in a sense where in the relation of the safety factor, can we discuss how to cultivate that openness to even communicate that? Because I don't have per se research, but from experience, I feel like there is a space where it's like this and this, and this is not happening.
That's right.
Meaning where the employees do not feel safe, but they don't feel like they can even articulate that.
Yes.
So how would someone create that space of communication?
So on the one hand, I do offer a workforce listening assessment, right? So if as an organization, you are looking to understand what your people are thinking, if you're looking to understand why are you having such large turnover or you're having low engagement, I can come in as a third party, and generally I will get more honest answers than you would if you're coming in within the HR group. I am also certified to do that, right? Like there's certifications associated with learning and keeping that data safe, et cetera. So I offer that as an opportunity to any organization. Does not have to be manufacturing. Manufacturing often likes me because I speak their language and I know what safety, again, I know the difference between perceived safety and safety, right? And if you've never experienced it, you don't actually know what you're looking at sometimes. And so that everything feels dangerous, right? Like if you've never been in a loud, dirty facility, everything feels dangerous, but that's not really the case. Right. So I have steel mill, foundry, forging, stamping, like the heavy stuff, explosion zone experience. Like, so I can go in and be like, no, this is actually safe. And I am certified to do those kinds of things, which makes me a unique player in that field. So things that I have done and things that an organization can do can look at. One, do you have a suggestion program that is looking for safety? Is there a mechanism for them to say, I see something and I want to say something and feel safe in doing so? And by safe, I don't mean physically safe, I mean psychologically safe. Am I tattletaling or am I saying there is a proactive program? Like I want to give into a proactive program that's looking for safety. That has to be driven by the organization. There has to be a budget and there has to be resources associated with fixing things. Yep. And there has to be a closed loop feedback on, you perceive this as a safety issue, this is a safety issue, this is not a safety issue, or this is a potential safety issue, but because of the budgets, we're going to have to work towards it. We want to fix every single safety issue ever, but it is not realistic anywhere, right? Like you can't take off every single playground in the country because kids do need to climb. Do kids get hurt on playgrounds? Yes. Do we want them catastrophically hurt? We don't want them hurt. So there's ways of mitigating that. But, like that's why the playgrounds of the 70s are not the playgrounds of the 1970s. Right. I was reminded now that we have to say the late 1900s. What? And we're right, like this was 55 years ago. So
when you quantify it like that, it's like, oh my God.
I don't stop. But it's real, right? Like my grandpa worked in rebar construction in Chicago. Like he built most of those bridges in Chicago as part of those teams, right? He's like the guy that was like walking across those I-beams with they didn't tie off. They just walked right across. We were at a playground one time and they had one of those funny like dome shaped things that were the little triangles. Yep. He walked right up and over it with nothing. And all of us were like, what just happened here? Right? Like he was 65, 70. He just walked right up and over. Like he's like, what? None of us could do it. None of us could do it. Right? My mom was like, Dad. And we were like, what? Right? Like it was cool.
Superhero.
I would never allow a person to do that. And we were watching a movie last night. And my partner's like, that guy's not tied off.
Safety is
like, I'm like, dude, drink your wine. Like we're watching a movie, but the guy was not tied off. He's right.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So like when you are working in this world, like you learn to see these things, right? And then just watch my grandpa go right up and over. And I'm like, would never happen in I would fire you if I caught you doing that at a manufacturing site. Like hands down, I don't even have to have like a second chance. You pull a stunt like that, you know you've been trained because you wouldn't be out there. I've already trained you. You've signed that you're going to be, because it's too dangerous, right?
It is.
So we talk about what has changed, and then we create systems for them to communicate. But then from the leadership side, you have to assign resources. You have to like close that loop. So I have created, it's called I don't know, we called it a safety app, but it was an online app. Like you can use it on your phone and you could take a picture of an unsafe situation and it would automatically go into our database. And so our safety engineers were able to see it, assess it, assign resources as necessary and budgets, right? And then we were able to close the loop because we know who put it in. When I had originally gotten to that particular facility, their incident rate was like a 3.9 per man hour, like it's per million man hours, like these numbers, right? And to file a report was 14 pages printed. So,
oh my goodness,
to be clear, no one was filing reports, right? Unless there was an injury, because it was the same piece of paper, 14 pages, whether there was an injury or not. Well, so no one reported the almosts or the could be's, or there's ice hanging over the door in the winter, right? It could fall at any moment, but you don't know. And everyone's like, I'm not going to file 14 pages. You should know not to walk out that door, right? Like it's too much trouble. With the app, you can be like, dude, the icicle's 36 inches today. We need to close off that door until we can get that area taken care of. Or just for this week, that door stays closed, or we go and knock it down. Like there's ways you can do temporary fixes and long-term fixes.
Yes.
But I don't go out that door every day. I didn't know it was 36 inches and ready to like kill someone. If that thing had come off, someone came down, but someone walks out and they're like, holy cow, takes a picture, submits it. Okay, first thing we did was go out and knock it down. Then in the spring, the next time we had people up on the roof, we're like, hey, we need to take a look at what's going on. Why are we having one crazy icicle right outside that door? Yes. But we know. I would never know that was a thing. And all you need is bad timing for an injury of that nature.
Legit. Yeah.
Right. So little things like that. Also, I'm 5'1". Do you know how many head injuries I have in a plant? Oh, not very many. Right? Other guys, they're like, dude, you hit your head here, here, and here. I'm like, you would?
Like, what are you talking about?
Not me. I'm not hitting my head over there. Right? So, like, it is super important to crowdsource and then respond to the crowdsource, right? So having something like that and not being, hey, that guy's a complainer, but like that guy's actually looking with safety eyes.
Yes.
So we, in lean manufacturing and continuous improvement, we talk about, can you see? Do you have eyes to see? Because you have to learn for waste, for safety. We talk about those things. And then we have to create a safe environment in which they can report. I like this one because they can report kind of remotely. They only have to have a supervisor weighing in on it.
Yeah.
And we can so we had one. My CEO did not agree. And honestly, it wasn't a big safety issue. I don't really think it was a safety issue. The CEO didn't think it was a safety issue. The health and safety engineer also did not think it, right? And we've had OSHA. OSHA comes out all the time. No one thought this was an issue. But, we had 25 people report the same thing as an issue. At a certain point, it doesn't matter. If we all don't think that this is a safety issue, if half the workforce is like, dude, that's a safety issue, it's important to understand the engagement element of that, especially if it's something affordable. Can we fix it just to drive the engagement?
Oof.
Right?
Oh my God.
Right? Because you're crowdsourcing. They don't know that everybody else put that in. We do. I literally, there were a couple of them that I was like, reject, because they didn't make sense. It happens. But then when you see it so many times, I would always look at data, how do you look at data in different ways? And we would look at this data, and I'm like, man, this one came up so many times. What are they seeing that we're not seeing?
Correct.
Maybe it is an issue when you're carrying something. Maybe it's an issue
Yeah.
when you're pushing something. It's not an
Yep.
issue when we go and inspect it. Like it was
Yeah.
inspected multiple times by multiple professionals. But if it's being reported so many times, it is important to understand that something else is happening that we're not seeing. And maybe we need to
Exactly.
take another look with that team. Maybe we need to put a workshop together specifically on that one, or maybe just
Yeah.
do it. Like if it's an easy fix, just go do it. Whatever
Yeah.
that is. So sometimes it's
Yeah.
nice to have those kinds of things because you almost have crowdsource ideas and you can like put together some stats and be like, I need to check myself, right? Like
Yes.
I was in alignment with my CEO and my safety engineer. I really was. None of us thought this
Right.
was a thing, but
Mm-hmm.
25 people thought it was a thing.
Yeah.
Then we need to listen.
Do something.
We need
Do
to listen.
something.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Because this is what I see. Because my background is primarily customer care,
Mhm.
the customer experience, and that's like my heart.
Yeah.
You know, and when it comes to whether it's within the company, outside the company, within the customer experience, I feel like there's some things like I understand that you may not agree with it,
Right.
but at least listen to it, understand what the person is saying, look into it. And at the end of the day, if it's nothing, then it's nothing.
Right.
But the fact that you took the time to listen,
Yeah.
that is what is going to increase engagement.
Yes.
100, like that's what I see.
Yeah.
Because like case in point, the other day I had a colleague that was saying, well, actually the customer communicated with me and said to me that they didn't receive something in their email. Now, granted, it is possible it went to their spam folder,
Right.
because it wasn't from me.
Right.
But I know that this particular client is looking for my response.
Okay.
So there's a trust
Right.
space here between me and the client. So when they didn't see the other email that came from same company,
Right.
but different person, it's possible they may have overlooked it because it's not in the same email chain.
Right.
100% possible. The associate says to me, well, they need to check their spam folder. I understand that. But just to appease the customer in this moment, to make them feel heard and seen, can you please send it again on the same email chain?
Right.
That's all I'm asking.
Right.
Because it's about trust.
Yep.
That's really what it's about. And I just feel like in a lot of companies where we see high turnover,
Yes.
if we just take that time to listen,
Mhm.
that is what's going to increase trust and to get people to even share more with you, because there could be other things going on that you don't even see,
Right.
but is a problem
Right.
or creating that safety issue.
Yeah. Yes.
Mind-boggling to me, Angela.
So I also host workshops for the 5 behaviors, and that ends up with accountability and trust. Like it's the 5 behaviors of high performing teams. And we talk a lot about trust, and we talk a lot about accountability and driving results, not from the top, but from within. Right? How do you do that from within? And you do that by having a little bit of conflict, but you do that by setting the alignment, conflicting on the way to get there, but the goal is still the same.
Yeah.
And that conflict actually drives, like, when I say conflict in this setting, in the talking of the 5 behaviors, it's, I don't agree on this widget versus that widget. It's not you're a jerk because you're not listening to me, right? That's a different kind of conflict. So
Right.
you want to have these in-depth conversations, and then you have to agree to align, and you hold each other accountable, and you build that trust by doing that, and then you get the results. Those are high-performing teams.
Yes. Oh my goodness, Angela, I just want to take you, put you in this company, do the thing.
I am for hire.